So we welcome you to the New Jersey Building Electrification Webinar. We have over 80 people registered for this webinar. We have created and given and recorded over 30 monthly webinars. There is an index that covers all topics, recordings, and slides for all these. And so I can email the link if interested. Just request this in chat. And within a couple of days, I'll send out to all the registered copies the links to the recording and slides. Now, over the years, we featured many topics, but I always relish a case study of how things either were done or could be done. And tonight, John is going to tell us how he is doing right now. So our featured speaker tonight is John Pitts. He recently finished a Rewiring America Electrification Coach training. So he's, like some other people on the same call tonight, is pretty experienced and has a lot of knowledge. John also is co-chair of Sustainable Margate Green Team, and he said he gave this same presentation to his Green Team last week, and it was so good he's planning to present this to the city commissioners and expects a community-wide presentation. And also, I believe he wants to offer his electric coaching as a community service in his hometown. Maybe he'll expand that a bit. I hope he does. So John was telling me about his background. He has an engineering background, providing hardware and software solutions. John has been an environmental advocate since attending the first Earth Day in Philadelphia in 1970. He and his wife, Nancy, reside in Margate, New Jersey. John is a member of the planning board and the Sustainable Margate team. I really always appreciate people who are volunteers in their town. Now I'm going to turn the baton over to Pat Miller, who will provide some logistics about how to handle questions tonight.
Yeah, we're just going to let John talk till the end, I think, and then you can be putting your questions in the chat as he goes along. And at the end, we'll do all the Q&A. And in honor of it being summer, we think we might finish up by about 8 o'clock tonight. We usually go till 8:15 or even longer if there's interest, but we'll aim for 8 o'clock.
John, if you're willing and available now, I can now share the screen. Or would you like to talk first?
Yeah, no, sure. Let's get started. Steve, I'll walk through what we've done to electrify our home. Hopefully the folks will find it interesting.
Wait a second. I don't see it outlined in green on my monitor. Are you seeing the slide?
I can see the slide, Steve.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
Yeah, so we're going to talk tonight about our home electrification journey. That photo you see in the middle there is a photo from Margate, New Jersey, where we reside. For those of you that may not be familiar with Margate, New Jersey, it's 2 towns south of Atlantic City on the ocean. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so first and relevant question is why? Why did we decide to electrify? We wanted to take very personal action and accountability. And when I say we, I mean Nancy and I. As Steve said, I attended the first Earth Day in Philadelphia in 1970. Hard to believe it's 54 years ago now. But back then, we were well aware of global warming, climate change, and the decline of the environment. Now, here we are, some 54 years later, and at least in my opinion, we've not made significant change to mitigate the effects of our use of fossil fuels. So Nancy and I had a desire to do everything we can on a personal level to positively impact the environment. So that was a primary driver for us. Second primary driver is what you say on the photo on our right. That's our grandchildren, 7 of our 8 grandchildren. There's one more that's not in the photo. She's a bit older than the rest of them there. but really had this desire to ensure that we were doing everything we can to leave a planet that is desirable place to live. It's comfortable for our grandchildren, and not overcome by some of the effects that we hear about climate change. We are coastal community residents, so we live in an oceanfront community. That picture on the left is some erosion on the ocean here in Margate from earlier in the year. It was in the spring. We are constantly bombarded here by news of climate change, whether it's rising tides, coastal flooding. We're constantly changing the building requirements to raise the houses ever higher. Here in our town, any new construction, the ground floor is for storage and cars only. There can be no living spaces on the ground floor, all to help mitigate the effects of flooding. Our community here was adversely affected by Sandy, so it's a constant thought amongst the residents and certainly the officials here in town. I wanted to have a demonstration to encourage others to electrify. I think it's fine to be able to talk about electrification and the benefits of it, but I wanted to have a firsthand demonstration facility that I could demonstrate to people, as we're going to do tonight, and in our community specifically, would welcome people to come in and see what we've done in our home, that they can see firsthand that it can be done. This is how you do it. These are the effects, both pro and con. So that was very important for me. We wanted to eliminate fossil fuels for sure. We wanted to go 100% electric and 100% renewable energy supply. We'll talk about that in some detail as we go through the presentation. And then some things related to our home. We moved into the community here 2.5 years ago. We had a gas range, and my wife Nancy loves to cook. She was having some difficulty due to uneven heat and some issues with the oven. So, the oven needed to be replaced. Our refrigerator was old and wasn't serving very well. That needed to be replaced. Our heat and air conditioning unit needed to be replaced. So we had some factors apart from just wanting to do it that made it logical and made some sense for us to electrify. Yeah, next slide, please, Steve.
Did I go too far? No.
Yep, there it goes. So the what? This is our home. It was an early 1960s ranch home built in an oceanfront community. Maybe not originally intended to be a year-round home. It did have natural gas for forced hot air heat. The system was from the 1990s. Cooking was with natural gas. The hot water was with natural gas. The hot water heater had been replaced at least once from the original home. It was dated somewhere in the early 2000s. The air conditioner was a 1990s condenser unit, which was terribly inefficient, not very good. Last summer, our air conditioner ran pretty much nonstop, day and night. The insulation, the attic insulation is okay. It's not great. Have no idea what's in the walls in the home. The home did have the windows replaced. The windows were not the best quality and poorly installed. We have one window in particular over our kitchen sink, where in the wintertime, when the wind is blowing the right way, it literally moves the shade on the window. So that's something we need to address. We haven't addressed it yet, but we'll come back to that. Next slide, please, Steve. So the how, what did we do? Again, first thing we wanted to do right out of the gate was to get a renewable energy supply. We want to eliminate our use of fossil fuels. So I did some research and found a 100% renewable energy supplier, and we signed on in February of 2023, while Atlantic City Electric is they deliver the energy to us. We're buying the energy from a 100% renewable supplier. So that was very important for us. So without putting solar panels on the roof or doing really much else, we could confidently say that we were getting all of our electricity in the start, not all of our energy, but at least at the start, all of our electricity from a renewable energy supplier. And I think this is really a key and an easy one for folks to do. I think sometimes the idea of buying renewable energy from a supplier that's an example, for example, in the Midwest, how does that electricity get to your house? That idea is a little obtuse. I'm still looking for a good slide or a presentation that can help explain that to folks that may not understand how how the energy or electricity gets into the grid and how that affects where you buy it. But anyone can do it. And I know Steve mentioned the presentation I gave to our sustainable team here in town, and this discussion had the most interest from the folks here in town, because they have that question, well, how do I do that? And I think it's expensive. I've heard it's expensive, more expensive than my current supply from Atlantic City Electric. We'll talk a little bit later about the cost for the renewable electricity for us, but suffice it to say right now, it is not more expensive. This little slide here was from our renewable energy supplier. I think it's a great little slide that in a few paragraphs makes the argument for why not go with renewable energy for your home electric supply. Next slide, please. This was phase 2. We purchased a Volkswagen ID4, which is a 100% plug-in EV. We had, and in fact still have, a 20-year-old ICE Toyota that has 200,000 plus miles on it. We don't use it much. It's primarily our beach car to go back and forth to the beach because we don't mind it getting sandy. But this EV is our primary vehicle. We quite enjoy it. We drove a couple of EVs and we felt the most comfortable in the Volkswagen. But I think, any EV is going to serve the purpose to get away from fossil fuels in your vehicle. Next slide, please. So this was the next step. Is we quickly determined that our electrical panel in our home, which is what you see on the far left, was a 100 amp panel. It had no openings in the panel. We couldn't add any more. We knew we wanted to add things like an EV charger and an induction range, and we're putting the heat pump in. So we needed to upgrade our incoming power and electrical panel. So we did that in March of 2024. I do see some chat going on in the background. I noticed Steve answered a question there. Yeah, maybe we'll stop at some point if there's anything that I can answer. If not, we'll just save them till the end. So back to this, March 2024, we had our electrical incoming power and electrical panel upgraded. You can see we have plenty of open slots in the new panel that we can use for any future needs. Next slide, please. So the next step we did was we replaced our forced hot air gas heating and electric cooling system with a heat pump. We got the latest generation, happens to be the Mitsubishi cold weather heat pump. This is the unit that sits behind our home. We have mini split ceiling cassettes. If you can click the slide, please. Steve, yep. So this item you see in the ceiling there is our ceiling cassette. We have those in 3 rooms, our master bedroom, our living room, and our kitchen. because we have a crawl space overhead of the first floor. We're a 1-floor home. These were easy to install. We like the look of them compared to the wall-mounted mini splits. And so far, I can say we've been very, very pleased with them. I haven't really had a chance to use them yet for heat. It's been primarily air conditioning. But we quite like them. If you can click the slide again, Steve. Yeah, this is what's we also have in this our attic crawl space. So we have a ducted forced air system for 2 additional rooms, 2 bedrooms, and then the 2 bathrooms. You can see this system is well insulated. In the sort of left rear of the photo, that's the distribution box for the mini splits. So this fit quite nicely in our attic and worked for us. Might not be a solution for everyone. For us, it's perfect. And I think we have one more click on this slide, Steve. Yeah, thanks. This is what was removed from our home. So this was the ductwork for the old forced hot air gas system. This was all in our crawl space below the home. So you can see there was no insulation on any of this. It was, as you can expect from a system that was some 35 years old, was not very nice inside. My wife Nancy suffers from some respiratory issues, so we have some expectation that there might have been something in this system contributing to her respiratory issues as well. So we were very happy to get rid of all that and replace all of that with the heat pump system. Next slide, please. Our next how in the phase 3 was we replaced all of our appliances with modern, up-to-date, energy efficient appliances. We put in an induction convection range, so induction cooktop with convection oven. So far, we've been very, very pleased with the induction cooktop. It heats up things much quicker than than our old gas furnace or our gas cooktop. We're not getting the fumes from the gas cooktop in the house, which I think also contributed to some respiratory issues. Again, just a great solution for us. An advantage for Nancy was she got to buy some new pots and pans because some of her old pots and pans, because they were not compatible with the induction cooktop, required us to buy some new pots and pans. We bought an energy efficient refrigerator. It's a 4-door refrigerator. If you haven't seen one of these, this middle drawer is very convenient. We keep some items in there, like we like to drink seltzer. We keep cans of seltzer in there. Our cheeses are in there and some other things, but it keeps you from opening up the entire refrigerator to get to those things. So adds to the energy efficiency. We bought a stacked washer and dryer. The washer, these front load units now use a lot less water as well as energy than the old top loading clothes washers. And then the clothes dryer is now an electric clothes dryer, where we had a gas-powered, gas-fired clothes dryer previously. We also installed the level 2 EV charger that you see in the bottom right photo. And I don't have a photo of it here, but we went with an electric tank hot water heater. I know it's not the most efficient. Really wanted to use a heat pump hot water heater, but where our hot water heater is located, it's basically in a closet with no airflow. And my research on the heat pump hot water heaters indicated, you need some space around it for the heat transfer. Might have been able to do it with some ducting to the outside, but just opted to go with an electric tank hot water heater. Next slide, please. So cost. I know this is oftentimes in the forefront of everyone's mind. So we'll break down for you a little bit what the cost for us was. So the first thing we did, as we talked about it, was we went to a fully renewable supplier. Their electricity was 12 cents a kilowatt hour, where at the time Atlantic City Electric was 11 cents a kilowatt hour. So a penny more a kilowatt hour on a 14-month contract. For us, that was a no-brainer to spend a penny more per kilowatt hour. Currently, we're paying 15 cents a kilowatt hour from Inspire. Atlantic City Electric is currently a bit more than 14 cents a kilowatt hour. So again, a penny more per kilowatt hour. We're happy to pay that small incremental increase to be getting our supply from a renewables energy supplier. I think the majority of Atlantic City Electric's supply is from a coal-fired plant. No, it might be a natural gas-fired plant and the nuclear plant in southern New Jersey. Phase 2, the EV, we paid $48,800 for our Volkswagen ID4. We get a $7,500 federal tax deduction, netted out at $41,300. There is, I think it's still available, a New Jersey state incentive. It just so happened when we bought our EV, the New Jersey state incentive had expired and had not been renewed. If we had waited another month or two, we could have got the additional, I think it's $4,500 state incentive, which would have further reduced our net cost. But we were ready. Our 20-year-old car was it was just giving us some hints that it was not going to last a lot longer. It might break down. So we bit the bullet and bought the new EV. The electric service upgraded to 200 amp. That was $3,750 all in, fully installed. We get a $600 federal tax credit for that. So $3,150 net for the electric service upgrade. So we've got phase 1 and phase 2 covered. If you can click to the next slide, please, we'll go to phase 3. Heat pump and hot water heater. That was the big dollar item, right? Almost $34,000. All in, including installation. We will get a $2,000 federal tax credit against that when we file our taxes this year. I really wanted to wait for the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act rebate that's coming. When I first heard about it, I did not anticipate it was going to take quite so long for the rollout of the Inflation Reduction Act by the state of New Jersey, but it's coming. So that would be additional funding available depending on your income bracket. But in any case, for us, it was $3,165 net for the heat pump. The appliances, $10,247 for the fridge, range, washer, dryer. Again, we'll get a federal tax credit against those this year, and we get a little bit of a rebate from Atlantic City Electric. So $91.47 net that there. The level 2 charger was $1,850 complete, including the installation. We get a $250 rebate from Atlantic City Electric, so $1,650 net there. So all in, we were almost $87,000 for all 3 phases. For us, we were going to replace pretty much all of these things anyway. So while we likely spent a bit more for the heat pump and a few other items that might have been cheaper to go with gas-fired units, for us it was really a no-brainer and made all the sense in the world to spend the money. Next slide, unless there's any reason to stop for any questions. No. So for us, and what I think the message is to most people, is something they're calling end game decarbonization. So the idea is next time you need to retire a car, appliance, a water heater, your furnace, etc., it should be replaced with one that doesn't emit any CO2 nor use any fossil fuels. So this is a curious photo we have here. When we contacted the gas company and said, we want you to come out and shut off our gas, they said, you mean you don't use any gas in the house any longer? And we said, nope. And they said, well, okay, we're going to come out. We're going to put a padlock on the incoming line. I said, fine, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. I'd like to keep the incoming gas line in case, a future homeowner wants to use gas or revert to gas. So curiously enough, I walked out of the house a few days later, and the gas company had not only padlocked the incoming line, they put in a brand new gas meter, which, as you can see, is reading all zeros, which I expect will read zero for the rest of my life. So, yeah, kind of curious, but yeah, quite okay for us. Next slide, please. So next steps, what are we going to do going forward? I mean, we've made, major renovations and considerations where, again, we're 100% renewables, all electric today. So we think we've done very well in the ambitions that we outlined originally. I plan to log and analyze our energy usage and costs. So we moved into this home in May of 2022. I've been logging and recording our electric use, our natural gas use, our total energy cost. And I'm building some charts and tables that we can look and see how our cost is going. This is a chart of our electric usage. Electric use is going up, as I would expect and candidly hope it would. As we've abandoned natural gas, we're powering our EV. We're charging our EV with electricity. But that's quite okay. That's what we want and what we expect. We're going to explore putting solar panels on the roof. With all the incentives and programs that there are for putting solar panels on the roof, it's likely something we will do. I'd like to look at energy storage via battery, ideally. There's talk about being able to use the battery in your EV as home storage. There's EV to grid, EV to home. I think and hope that that's coming. That would be a great solution for us. We'll explore the home ceiling. We haven't done the blower door test or anything like that yet, but it's something else we'll certainly be looking into. Next slide, please. This is a slide of our total energy costs. So this is electricity and gas from the first month we had the home until June. I can't really make any analyses on these just yet. Again, we really didn't implement the full electrification until early this year, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I would expect it to go up a bit, but again, for that, that's quite okay. Next slide, please. So, kind of a wild idea, but specific to where we live here in an oceanfront community. This is a Photoshop. These two orange sort of tulip-looking things you see here are residential wind turbines. We constantly have a breeze here at our home. I'd like to explore the idea of putting in a couple of small residential wind turbines. There are a number of different options available. Steve mentioned earlier, I'm on the planning board in town, so need to get the town to approve putting something like this on the lawn. I don't think on the roof would fly, candidly, with the zoning and planning board, but on the lawn, something like this might work. I don't have a lot of information. I mean, the amount of energy that you get out of these compared to a roof full of solar panels, it's less from the wind turbines. But again, in our effort to do everything we can to wean ourselves off of fossil fuels and make everything as energy as efficient as possible and have a little demonstration facility in town, I think this is an intriguing idea. Next slide, please. And this is another concept, the microgrid concept, that I would love to explore, again, specifically here in our oceanfront town. If you're not familiar with microgrids, I'll just briefly explain. The idea is that, you know, all of the residences as well as businesses in the town, you know, they'd have solar panels or geothermal or whatever, you know, renewable energy source they might have. And then it's shared, and there could be a battery system to store the energy to power everything when, you know, when the sun is not available. Wind turbines would help offset that by being able to generate power even when there's no sun, and then some distribution system to distribute it amongst all of the nodes on the microgrid. Specifically for the town where we live here in Margate, being an oceanfront community, fully 2/3 of our homes are vacant most of the year. You know, we're in a seaside, almost a resort community where many of the homes here are occupied just a few weeks out of the year in the summer. So if we could, via ordinance or something, mandate that every new home has solar or some renewable energy source that's then shared on the grid, I think we could power the entire town without any fossil fuels. Sort of a far out concept at this point, but I plan to introduce it to our city commissioners and some other folks in town to at least open their eyes and start thinking about a concept like this. I believe, and Steve, you can comment if I'm wrong, currently the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities does not allow microgrids in New Jersey. So, you know, apart from getting it approved in a specific locale or a town, it needs to be, you know, there needs to be some governmental action to allow something like this, but seems to me a great idea. I think there's one more slide. Yeah, and this is a town in Germany, Freiburg, Germany. I have a very good friend who is an energy consultant and for renewable energy in Germany. He was involved in this project, so you can see, you know, all of the these are apartment buildings sort of in Germany, and then some single family units back here. Everyone has solar, and everyone in the community shares the solar. So a great concept, in my opinion. So that's it. I hope you folks found it interesting. If there's questions in the chat, we can bring them up, and between Steve and I and others on the call, we can try and answer the questions. Let me know what you folks would like to do, Pat.
I do have one comment and some experience with microgrids in New Jersey. Probably 6 or so years ago, the BPU requested the cities to come up with proposals for microgrids. And the result was probably 10 or 12 different proposals. And the cities worked probably for a year or so on the proposals. And then finally BPU selected, I think, a 2 or just a handful. I think it was heavily subsidized. There were bonuses, I think, for winning this solicitation, but I've not heard anything further. So it's a blank as to what the next step is. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's got to jump in. Hopefully, you know, California or someplace will do it and show some benefit, and then we can start rolling it out in other places in the country. Pat, do you want to? We can't hear you. You're muted, Pat.
So when I was talking before, nobody could hear me. Okay.
Sorry.
So I'll give the questions
Okay.
to John, and if Steve wants to chime in, then you'll have your chance. The first one was, is community solar the same as what you have? And I answered no. You were talking about a third-party private supplier. I think you said it was in the Midwest somewhere. Community solar is, and it's probably not even solar. It's more likely to be wind if it comes from the Midwest. But
Yeah, so the supplier that we chose is a combination of solar and wind. They are in the Midwest. Here in southern New Jersey, it's I think the first community solar programs have just come online. So didn't really have anything available in 2023 when we wanted to make the move. I am keeping an eye on the community solar projects here. Yeah, we'll see that.
yeah,
I would switch to community solar when it becomes available.
The
well, I don't know
big
if
advantage of community solar is, at least for now, a 20% discount. So whatever utility now you pay for at least the supply portion of it, you can get 20% lower rate by finding your nearest community solar. And there's portals to go to look up who's available. And probably around 100 per year are being developed. It's quite significant. It's a lot of community solar becoming available over the next few years.
we
And
had a webinar about community solar a few months ago, which Steve, you might look to see what the link to that is. That if you're interested in community solar and don't know that much about it, you could watch this webinar.
yeah, and I could be mistaken, but when I looked at the community solar program that was available to me here in southern New Jersey, they couldn't offset all of my electricity with their solar renewable, which was a bit of a downside for me, right? I wanted to be 100% renewable supply. I think we have a couple of hands raised there, Pat.
Yeah, John, did you have a comment about the community solar?
Yeah, the reason I brought that up is that we have a cabin in upstate New York in the Adirondacks. And I just got solicited to join a newly forming community solar up there. They haven't built the grid, their solar farm yet. But they said in 3 or 4 months, I should start seeing a bill from them, and they're projecting it will be a 15% cheaper than what I'm paying to NIMO, or I guess it's First Energy. I forget the name of the parent company, but it used to be Niagara Mohawk. But yeah, so my primary bill will still come through Niagara Mohawk, and then somehow, I'll ask me again in 6 months. I'll probably know.
Yeah, Steve and I signed up for one of the first community solar spots that became public. But we signed up a year ago, or it was more than a year. It was in the spring of 23, and we didn't get hooked up until the spring of 24. So we've only had it for about 3 months now.
Okay,
but it
so
is available, and there might be a wait because they sign people up before they've even built it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Nick, was your comment? I don't want to let people in before the people in the chat, but if you're talking about community solar, then
I have community solar. I've been hooked up to the solar farm in Monroe, and it's a little bit convoluted because you have to set up your JCP&L account to get paid through your credit card, and they pay, and community solar uses Arcadia to process the billing and everything else. And right now Currently, my bill is 20% less with community solar. And they supply all my electricity. The only thing that JCP&L charges for is distribution.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good deal. So if they have it in your area, and they don't have it, it has to be in your utility area in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And not every utility, your electric utility, not everyone even allows it. I don't think Rockland has any yet, but JCP&L and PSE&G, and I don't know about Atlantic Electric either.
No. Hi, this is Alex. Atlantic Ace does not have it. I waited 10 months and I just dropped it from Arcadia. So I called in many times. I even requested an ETA, and they said there is no ETA. So I gave up on that from Arcadia.
Okay,
They
well,
have to have a solar farm in your area to hook you up.
Yeah, but Ace is not. They're not. They have to be hooked into Ace, the electric company, and there aren't enough. The demand is greater than the supply. And you have to keep in mind that by law, 51% of the supply coming in from solar has to go to a low or middle income families. They have to enforce that. So, if you're not low or mid middle income, you you have a long wait in if you're in the ACE territory right now. I waited 11 months. I just dropped it. I'm wasting my time because you don't get a penny off if you're not hooked up to a panel, right? You're
right,
just in the queue waiting for some panels to be assigned to your home, and they just don't have the capacity.
right. Well, let's go on to the next question. Which I think this was all covered. Steve Miller said, all about community solar, look at chat, Q&A. And he gives the link for that. The speaker was Yvette Vias's for Solar Landscape, which is the company that supplies ours. And there are a bunch of projects that are coming online, but like Alex said, they're not in Atlantic City. Atlantic City, I think, has trouble with its grid anyway. That he's correct in saying the demand is greater than the supply. Okay, so for the next question, can we use, Stephen wants to know, can we use JCP&L to pull in community solar in Hope, Warren County? Stephen, are you in JCP&L territory? Is that your utility now?
He answered yes. Then the answer is great because JCP&L territory is must be 40% of the whole surface area of New Jersey. And
so the way you sign up is to go to Sustainable Jersey has a website that's a solar, I forget what they call it, solar lookup. And they'll tell you, you give it your zip code and they tell you what projects you're available to apply to.
You'll see the link in the chat after your question, Stephen, for the sign up. The further information and sign up is now in chat.
Okay. The next question for John is, Did you look at heat pump dryers or combo washer dryers? And that's my question.
Yeah, we didn't seriously look at heat pump dryers. I mentioned the hot water heater is in the closet. Well, also in the closet is our washer and dryer. So any heat pump device in there, I think, was going to be problematic. The combined combo washer and dryer, that got ruled out by Nancy, my wife.
Ah,
she didn't like the idea of a combo washer dryer, and it took some convincing to get her to agree to a front load washer. There's lots of discussion about the front load washer. Some water remains in there. You sort of get this little bit of a stink from the water that remains in the front load washer. So yeah. Anyway, we compromised and decided on the stackable washer dryer.
well, I have to tell you our experience because it's really positive. And we actually, in our electrification coaching, one of our friends was looking for a new washer dryer also, and they bought the same one that we did. And I haven't talked to them to see whether they're happy, but we bought ours. I looked online to find a heat pump dryer.
Mm-hmm.
And the only just plain dryers I could find took the 240 volts. And I looked at that and I said, we could save a whole lot of money if we didn't have to run a wire, the 240 volts from the basement to the second floor. And so I looked at the only heat pump 120 volts that I could find was the combo. And I had heard that the combos were good. And so I looked at all the recommendations and everything, and they were on sale because it was Memorial Day. And our friends got it on sale because it was July 4th. So so you can get them for like $2,000 on sale, which maybe they're always on sale. I'm not sure. And this front loader, it does work much, much better than the old style. It goes really fast and it practically dries the clothes during the wash cycle. You don't have to have a vent to the outside, and you don't have to have anything to catch the water that comes out of it, because it goes down the same drain as the washer water. Mm-hmm. So there's just one hose to the wash out of the washer. So anyway, we have this combo. It takes about it has the same footprint as a washer or a dryer, and it's about 2/3 as high as the stacked thing. Yeah. So we really love it. So I would recommend that if anyone is in the market for a heat pump dryer or any dryer.
A little technical comment. So it's not vented. The dryer is not vented at all, and so you could put it in any closet.
You could put it in your bathroom. You could put it anywhere.
And it plugs into any available outlet.
Fantastic.
And it's a washer and dryer in one unit, 110 volts.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay. You can answer this, John, if you want to, or you can pass it to Steve. Can you explain a little more about energy storage via an EV?
Yeah, I'll start, and then Steve can chime in. I see John has his hand raised as well. But if you have an EV, you have a fantastic battery storage system for your home. Currently, there is not really the technology that can allow for that, right? To allow you to take the energy from your car and power your home. Further, I think there are some issues with utility companies and, you know, the potential to drive your car, charge it at an EV charger, and then bring it in and use it to power your home, or put it back into the grid and get credits from the utility companies. But it's coming. The Ford Lightning pickup truck, I believe, has the ability to do it today with some specific charger. I don't know if it's a Ford charger or some specific charger. The intent there, though, I believe, is to use it as an emergency generator, right? So if the power goes out, you can plug your car or your Ford into your home, and you can run the basic appliances, run your refrigerator and maybe a few other things. What I'd like to be able to do is, you know, in the evening, if we have no solar and maybe there's no wind, I'd like to be able to power the home from my battery. So again, I'm not drawing any electricity off the grid, but that may be a wish more than a reality.
Maybe when the smart meters come.
Well, yeah, that's part of it.
We saw an ad for JCP&L to just tonight that said, start looking for your smart meter now. So
the word about the standards. So the standards are being developed for basically it would be a microgrid type connection for the batteries. That would include your car. There was just today a notice about a big industry forum for this type of thing. I did not save it because I figured, oh, it's going to be more of this on the way. But there's various committees like NEEP, Northeast. I don't know, what does the NEEP stand for? Anyway, they have
Northeast Energy Efficiency Partners.
Okay, they
I
have
learned that today.
There are many others as well. So this is going to become real at some point. And John Pitts, I still have the community-wide Freiburg, Germany. I think that's tremendous. I'd love to see it here, and I think it will become real.
Okay, Bob asks, do the Tulip residential wind turbines make noise, objectionable noise?
Yes, they claim that they do not. I've seen a video online of them, and they are not noisy at all. But you know, these are very, very early stage developments at this point. I don't think they really have any income. They don't have any in residential use. The one use I saw, that particular one, the Tulip one, is developed by a Dutch company, I believe, and they have them on poles that are powering something there. I think they're bicycle chargers, right? For an electric bicycle or something. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did see
also,
something. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pat.
I was just going to comment that I would think even if it's windy that you would have to have it above your roof, just like a chimney. But I mean, for that, you could just put it on a longer pole.
Yeah.
If they would allow it.
Yeah, that's going to be a significant question. Will they allow it?
Okay. Ed asks, were you happy with the heat pump installation? Sizing is important, and blower door tests usually are helpful in sizing the units. I like the new ducting. Yeah,
that's a great question, Ed. We relied on our, heating contractor to come in and analyze the house. They did not do a blower door test. I asked them about it, and they don't have that capability. Long story short, I suspect our system is oversized. And you can research what it means when you have an oversized system. We're probably going to be less efficient than we should be if we had a properly sized system. So kind of fell down on the job a little bit there by not getting the blower door test done. I searched quite a bit. I know on one of Steve's presentations, he had a guy some months ago, I believe in New Jersey, but he's up in central New Jersey. I contacted him. He didn't want to come this far south. I couldn't find anyone down here or really anywhere nearby that was willing to come to Margate and do a blower door test. So yeah, I advocate for it. I think you should do a blower door test. We did not.
Okay. Howard, back to the wind turbine. Howard says a wind turbine on your front lawn poses a liability issue if some idiot gets hurt touching it when it's running.
Yeah.
That's another argument for putting it above the roof.
Above the roof. Yeah. Good point. Good point. And I'm sure you're right. But I will tell you that in the town where I am, a number of people have these they're just decorative wind spinning things, those little suckers whip around pretty quick if someone stuck their finger in it, I'm sure it would take their finger off. So, but yeah, I understand the point, and it's a valid point.
Jerry says your roofs face east and west, not the ideal arrangement for rooftop solar. However, the roofs have a low angle, so there's some hope.
Yeah, I will tell you, I have had a couple of people do an analysis of my roof, including this friend of mine in Germany who that's all he does for a living, and he says I've got a great roof. While they do face, they're not exactly east and west, but it's a relatively flat roof, and we get a lot of sunshine. So yeah, I think we'll be okay if in fact we do go with solar on the roof. But I appreciate the comments.
Back to the wind. Mark says, I used to have a beach house in Lavalette. I always wanted to add wind energy. I actually found most wind funnel between the houses. Yeah. Maybe there's space there on the side unless the fence blocks it to avoid the risk of someone touching it.
Thanks for the advice. Might be something to look at if we ever go that way. Yeah.
Just one word of advice. I know on Long Beach Island somebody erected a wind tower, and there were complaints. I assume he did it without asking first, without getting permit. I don't know what he did, but he was forced to take it down. Yeah. So be sure
I think he actually
board.
Got permission, but after the fact, there was so much pushback from other residents that they made him take it down after they'd given him permission to do it. Anyway, Tom says, how did you find a company to design, purchase, and install all the different equipment?
Interesting question. I'm not sure I understand it. I mean, we have a heating contractor that we used, and they just came in and did they did the heat pump and the hot water heater. Yep. Then I guess I sort of acted as the general contractor, if you want to think about it that way. So I got, the heating company to do the heat pump and the hot water installation. I contracted an electrician to do the electrical work. Yeah.
So again, yeah, my the thing that comes to my mind is my next door neighbor. I'm in Colorado, by the way. Has had solar panels put on his house, and it's been 2 years, and they're still not operational. And he's on his third company.
Oh.
The companies have gone bankrupt and sold themselves to other companies, and so there's been 2 bankruptcies that they've been dealing with. So finding somebody that is reputable is there's gobs of companies in Colorado that are saying, hey, choose us to take care of your solar needs.
Yeah, here in New Jersey as well. So that's a valid point, and I'm very skeptical, I will tell you, of all of the solar companies. Yeah.
Oh, this is a good question. Ernie asked, does your heat pump only have one outdoor unit? How many indoor heads do you have? We were trying to count. I was trying to count too.
Yeah, so just one outdoor unit. I have 3 indoor heads, these ceiling cassettes, and then that unit in the roof. So that should count as a 4th unit, or not in the roof, in the attic crawl space. So that's a 4th unit, and that unit, again, it's a forced hot air or a forced air ducted unit. which manages 2 other bedrooms and two bathrooms. So I hope I answered the question.
It's a multi-zone system, Mitsubishi. I have that as well. And sometimes I've found you get a little heat pumping into some rooms where you don't want it with the multi-zone. But you haven't been through a heating season yet, so maybe you haven't run into that. So
Yeah. No.
it's not terrible, but it was a little bit of a surprise. And then you have to dig into Mitsubishi to find out that it actually can occur.
Understood.
This is a question that may be for any of us that that are trying to learn how heat pumps work. We recently had a heat pump installed in our attic in Montclair. What we have found is that the top floor is cooled to the level we set it, but the lower floors are 3 to 4 degrees warmer than the top floor, which is closest to the attic. Any suggestions?
I can't help with that one. We have a single story home. So I do know that the homes, the newer homes that are being built here in Margate, you know, they're multi-zone systems, and they've got multiple outdoor condensers that power each floor. So yeah, they seem to be quite complex and maybe a little over-engineered, but maybe they are because they're trying to solve that problem that you described.
Howard, did you have an answer to that? You need to unmute if you do.
While eliminating the problem is not terribly difficult, you need somebody who's competent, an HVAC guy, to adjust the flow rate. They call it, I think, equalization through the various ductwork in the house. And that's done commercially, and you may want to have the valves put in where you can access it. When I moved into this house, and this is a split 50 years ago, there was an 8-degree difference between the upstairs and the downstairs. The upstairs being 8 degrees warmer than the downstairs, and it was pretty awful.
Well, I know we have now with our 2-story house, which previously had 2 furnaces. We had a furnace that we had a zone for and a furnace for each floor. And so that's how we kept them the same. So certainly you could do that with a heat pump, but it's a little late at this point.
The answer, by the way, this is a known phenomena that if you have multiple heads, that there can be some variation in the heat. I assume the same applies to cold output. And the Heat Smart organization in Massachusetts, it's based out of the metropolitan Boston area, has asked all of the HVAC contractors for technology coming out this year and to let them know if there are fixes for that problem in the newest technology. Technology is changing so rapidly, maybe once a month some manufacturer has something new. And so if, we're going to be tracking what the HVAC contractors reply up there. Maybe there's a way we could share it down here. I don't know how to reach you. But if you do have a problem like that, actually, maybe best bet is to email me, Steve Miller, and we sent out the invitations, and I'll keep you on file. And then when we have a solution, I'll tell you what it is.
Okay, Jerry has a comment. We only have time for a couple more. In North Jersey, PSE&G, I get my power from Inspire. My warning is the contract is annual. At the end of the year, the rate goes up markedly without warning. Renewing is easy, but you have to keep track and initiate the renewal.
Yeah, I'll just comment to that as well. I saw the same thing, right? Ours was a 14-month contract. At the 15th month, I noticed that my cost from Inspire went up markedly, as you say. I called up Inspire and said, this is not going to fly. I'm going to cancel the contract, and they reduced my cost. So,
Huh.
2 years ago, a friend of mine did just that and did get a cost reduction. So
yeah.
I would advise, if this happens to you, call the company and request return back to what you were paying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ed posted in the chat the site for finding community solar, which is nj.cleanenergy.com/community-solar. So if you look in the chat, you can find that. Shauna wants the recording, and we will be sending the recording out to everyone who registered. Philip said, well, let me answer this question quickly. Mark wants to know what brand combo. We got the GE profile, but there are two other, there was a Samsung and an LG that were almost identical. So, and you can buy them everywhere from Best Buy, Home Depot, Lowe's, and any kind of store like that. Okay, so Philip says, I installed 3-head heat pump a couple of years ago. Combined with my solar panels and net metering, so far this summer, I've spent $4.95 per month. Grid connection fee. I would recommend adding solar if your roof has a south face. Okay.
Great.
Oh, that's for John.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. All right. There are several more. I don't know whether we want to keep going with the questions or end it now. We have gone over what I said. Somebody wanted to say something?
This is Alex. Regarding the smart meters, ACE rolled them out in the community here. There was a $4 charge that was added to the monthly bill. They passed the cost alone to the customer, and some people started complaining because if you opted out of the smart meter with them, with ACE, you would be incurring a $15 charge a month. So people started complaining to the city government here next to where I am, and they went to bat for the citizens, and ACE kind of backed down, and I don't know what the status is now, but they weren't able to roll it out to all of their service area, because of that particular town that objected to it.
Well, that's interesting. That might have helped with the community solar issue.
Yeah.
if they could have deloaded their peak.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I still have this question. Do people want to stay on a little longer and finish these questions, or has it gone on too long? Of course, if you want to, if anybody needs to drop off, that's fine. What about you, John?
Yeah, I can hang on for a bit. I think we're pretty close to being done.
Do we want the recording to continue? I could just leave it the way it is. And so
yeah, just leave it.
Then we'll have all the answers maybe in the recording.
Yeah. Okay. Then I'm down to Philip. To get an estimate for solar generation for your roof, And he gives a link to that. Howard says, this is about the wind, you could find a small marine wind turbine generator for mounting wherever you want. Okay. And Jesse says, Ford F-150 Lightning, this is the one we always hear about, but also GM Silverado EV and Tesla Cybertruck are in the early phases of installs with PowerShare two-way type connection. That, as you have said, can act as an emergency backup generator. It is for the most part only available in California, Texas, Michigan, New York, as the first phase of this is implemented in concert with Ford and Tesla. There are those are in most cases going to be installed in concert with battery storage PV. That PV being solar. That is in its infancy, but will be more common in the next 1 to 3 years. Other models of Ford, GM, Teslas will likely add in the coming years. Good point. All right. I don't think we want to talk about it. If your solar company goes bankrupt, what recourse do you have? I don't think any of us know a whole lot about that. Tom says not paying the company until it becomes operational is one thing. Let's see. John says, if you were having difficulty, this is John Pitts, if you were having difficulty locating and finding someone to do a blower door test, please email me at hockeynj82@gmail.com, and I would be happy to come out and perform a blower door test for you. You are about 2.5 hours from me. Oh, this was 2, John Pitts, from Jesse. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for that, Jesse. And I've already sent you an email. So
okay. All right. That really is the end. So unless we want to talk about what you could do if your solar company goes bankrupt.
I see Howard has his
Howard
hand
has
up.
his hand up. Howard.
I, along with Phil, have had solar in this house for about 10 years. 11 months of the year, my electric bill is $4.95, which is what PSE&G extorts for reading the meter. The greatest joy was when it was first installed, having the going outside while we still had a dumb meter and watching it go backwards, which was really very nice. We were lucky, our solar contractor, which did not go bankrupt, though he took a little longer to install it than I would have liked. But check out the backgrounds on these guys before you go any further than just talking to them in the street, because there's a whole lot of no good nicks running around loose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good advice.
Actually, I use one that's been in business for many years. So they could go bankrupt, but I'm not sure. You know, there's a good chance they won't. But if you hire some 2 or 3 guys, that just started, then could happen, right? Anything's possible. But I would, go with a long, a company that's been in business a number of years.
Good advice. Steve, do you want to talk about the fact that we're not going to have a webinar next month?
Oh, sure.
And what we're planning for September? Right.
Let me just close up then. So our next BE webinar that was scheduled for August 15th is canceled. We're giving ourselves and everybody a break for summer vacation. We've had 30 some of these in a row pretty much. We had maybe one break 2 years ago. I'm not sure. So instead, the next webinar is Thursday, September 19th, 7 p.m. And we've had a big program. And what we'd like to do, if we can manage this, we have 8 New Jersey coaches who are throughout New Jersey who have graduated. And we'd like to have these coaches all get together, talk about the coach electrification training and what they can offer to New Jersey residents. The idea is that maybe we can round up residents who want to be coached. This is free of charge with newly graduated experts, sort of experts, free of charge, which is a good deal, I think. So that will
Good
be,
idea.
then it's going to be the same time, same URL as we advertise always on the 3rd Thursday of September, September 19th. Just for everybody's information, I will be sending out notices periodically for the next 2 months, I suppose.
And in the meantime, if you want to learn more about electrifying your own home, go to rewiringamerica.com and look up their electrification coach training and take the course. It's a 4-week course, just once or twice a week, a webinar, and it's free, and the coaching is free, and it's well worth your time.
Okay, the URL is actually the one that's more direct for people, residents, homes.rewiringamerica.org, O-R-G. And I'll put that into chat. There's also very similar, the rewiringamerica.org plain without the homes in front of it, which gives a different sort of layout. I don't quite know the differences. We really think that's the best website we have found to date in the United States. So I'm putting it, and what I can do is to include the chat in along with our recording, links to the recording and links to the slides. So you have the chat as well. So you can look that up later if you'd like to. So I really thank you, John, for
You're welcome.
describing
My pleasure.
your house electrification. I thought it was a great talk and discussion. And now we're always looking for people to talk about their houses. So if you want to talk about the houses and the things you're planning to do or things you've done or in the process about electrification, consider volunteering to be on this program. I think you'd find it very worthwhile and enjoyable. And maybe we can help you develop a plan for electrifying your house if you come to that webinar in 2 months. So be sure to come to that. One of the things I'd like to feature is more condo type homes, maybe even explore what you can do as a renter. And so that's it for the summer. Have a good rest of summer. So we see you in 2 months. I'm turning off recording.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, John, especially.
You're welcome.